Imagine silk gowns hiding a stench so powerful it could knock out a servant at 10 paces. Palaces glittered with gold, yet their rulers carried the smell of rot, sweat, and centuries of filth. Forget the idea of royalty being clean and perfumed. Many of them thought water itself was dangerous. Today, we're plunging straight into the foulest royal bathtubs of history, the ones that stayed empty for years. Brace yourself, because these monarchs made dirt and decayed their crown jewels. King Louis XIV, the Sun, King of Sweat. Louis XIV, the Sun King, a ruler who draped himself in gold, staged endless spectacles, and built Versailles, the world's most expensive perfume bottle. Because let's be honest, that wasn't a palace, it was a giant cover-up. Behind the diamonds, behind the powdered wigs, was a man who bathed so rarely historians can count the occasions on one hand twice, in his entire life. Twice. Imagine the layers of sweat, pus, and rotting skin sealed beneath brocade like meat wrapped in velvet. His teeth decayed into stumps, his breath could wither roses, and his ulcerous sores oozed through his clothes. Courtiers, suffocating in the haze, claimed he smelled divine, because disagreeing with the king meant losing your head, and probably your lunch. Perfume merchants made fortunes just trying to keep pace with the stench, pouring gallons of rose water and musk into the air until Versailles reeked like a funeral home full of wilting flowers. Louis wasn't the radiant Sun King, he was a walking eclipse, and while Europe bowed to his glittering light, those closest to him knew the truth. The closer you stood to the sun, the faster you burned Queen Isabella of Castile, the pious, stink. If Louis XIV was drowning in perfume, Queen Isabella of Castile went for the opposite strategy, holy stink. This is the woman who bankrolled Columbus's little, oops, I found America moment. But while she was mapping out empires, her personal hygiene was mapping out hell. Isabella famously swore she would never change her chemise, her underclothes, until it literally disintegrated from her body. Imagine fabric rotting off skin, soaked with sweat, oil, and the dust of pilgrimage. That wasn't holiness. That was a medieval compost pile strapped to a queen. She believed bathing was sinful, that water opened the pores to demons, so instead, she marinated. Servants whispered she smelled like damp laundry left in a tomb. The irony, her piety made her a walking relic before she even died. People bowed, kissed her hand, prayed for her blessing while gagging on the incense cloud that desperately tried to smother her scent. Isabella conquered Granada, expelled the Moors, and launched explorers across oceans. But ask her laundry basket who the real victim was. Holiness, it turns out, doesn't smell like frankincense. It smells like fear, mildew, and centuries of soap left unused. James I of England, the reeking intellectual. If Isabella feared demons in water, James I feared water itself. England's first Stuart king declared that bathing allowed illness to seep into the body, so he avoided it, like a man dodging taxes. Instead, he layered grime like armor. Grease, dandruff, and lice made his scalp a writhing ecosystem. His breath, chronic halitosis mixed with wine and garlic, strong enough to evacuate a council chamber faster than a plague bell. This was the man who wrote treatises on witchcraft, who demanded order in his kingdom while his own clothes stiffened with sweat, spit, and food stains. Courtiers described him fidgeting constantly, scratching himself raw as vermin feasted. But no one dared say, "Your Majesty, perhaps a little soap." Instead, they praised his aura of learning, while secretly choking back nausea. James was brilliant with words, yes, but his real power? Clearing a room without uttering a single one. For all his paranoia about witches, his greatest curse was self-inflicted, a body that made hygiene look like heresy. Marie de Medici, the queen of perfume, never water. If James I drowned in filth, Marie de Medici preferred drowning in roses, but not the real kind. This Queen of France believed water was a death sentence, so she chose to marinate in sweat beneath layers of velvet and lace, while masking it with oceans of perfume. Imagine a greenhouse filled with rotting flowers, body odor, and musky oils that was Marie walking down a hallway. She smothered herself in rose oil, ambergris, and musk, until courtiers joked she was less a queen and more a human incense burner. The gowns she wore heavy, suffocating, locked in heat and sweat, stewing her body like meat sealed in silk. The result? A smell that began floral but always ended sour, like potpourri left too long in the sun. Versailles itself stank of dog droppings and rotting food, but Marie made sure she stood out as the centerpiece. Not the fragrance of power, but the perfume of desperation beneath the petals and pearls. She was less a queenly rose and more compost wrapped in a crown. King Henry VIII, the rotting tyrant. And now, we descend to the filthiest throne of all, Henry VIII, the king of 6 wives, 2 beheadings, and 1 kingdom reshaped by his ego. But by the end of his life, Henry wasn't just politically monstrous, he was biologically terrifying. His legs swelled with ulcerous sores that oozed pus day and night. The bandages, rarely changed, soaked through until his chamber reeked like a butcher's shop left in July. He avoided bathing, claiming it weakened the body. But the truth was simpler. He was too bloated, too immobile, too rotting to care. Courtiers stuffed herbs, incense, and rose petals into the air to mask it, but nothing stopped the sweet, sickly perfume of decay. Standing near him meant breathing in death itself, half king, half cadaver. He may have commanded armies and torn his kingdom away from the Pope, but he couldn't command his own flesh to stop dissolving. Henry ruled with iron and fire, but his greatest legacy might just be this, proving that even absolute power can't outstink the grave. So there you have it. Kings and queens who proved that power doesn't smell like roses, it smells like sweat, pus, and centuries of bad decisions. These rulers feared water, worshipped perfume, and let rot set in where soap should have been. Next time you complain about someone skipping deodorant on a hot bus, remember you're lucky it's not a monarch dripping ulcers on the seat beside you. History is full of lessons, but this one is clear. Sometimes, cleanliness really is next to godliness.